Hello and welcome to today's Talking to Introverts. I almost forgot what it was called then. Dear listener, I do apologise. Hello and welcome. I'm Denise Oliver and my co-host, as always, is...
Hello, I'm Sami Blackford.
Hello there. As I say, welcome to this recording of Talking to Introverts. And the whole point of this for Sammy and I is that as introverts, people often think that we are shy, we lack confidence, that we actually don't want to talk very much. Not the case. What introverts really like is a more in-depth discussion on a topic. And the reason I'm saying this is because today we're going to look at networking as an introvert. And one of the things that networking calls for is that to me, airy fairy, don't get to know anyone, conversation, small talk. I just have never developed the skill. There are some people who can walk into a room and quite literally talk to every single person in the room, and I feel overwhelmed just at the thought of having to do something like that.
My
So,
partner is one of those people.
yeah, some people
He would just
just
talk to everybody.
they just love it. They just love it, and I'm the wallflower, very happy, just staying on the periphery and yet observing
Mm.
everything that's going on. I don't need to talk to people to know what's going on for them. I have this ability, this highly sensitive nature that gets overwhelmed easily, and yet that same highly sensitive nature can see when a person is uncomfortable. I know if a person's got needs a cushion for their body, that sort of thing. Whereas someone who's working the room never sees that. That's not their thing. And
Mm.
I believe that there's something for everyone with networking. I don't think that you should just give up when you don't like one of the ones you've been to. You may not have found the one that works for you.
Mm. And I think that's the biggest tip, isn't it? Because it can seem like introverts and networking just don't mix. Like, I'm an introvert. Why on earth would I put myself in a networking situation? And I think that's the biggest tip.
I've asked myself that many a time.
Well, I mean, like I've been to networking meetings where there's hundreds of people in the room, and I went to one and it's kind of scarred into my brain that I think they called it a round table, and there were so many round tables in the room that could fit maybe 10 people around them, and kind of like speed dating, I would imagine. Like every now and again, you'd have to move tables and find a different mix of people, and you'd just be saying the same thing over and over again. You were doing your pitch in inverted commas, like however many times in the during the meeting. So I've been to really big networking meetings. I've been to smaller meetings, and I now know enough about myself and how I interact and how I can interact like on a personal level with other people, but also interact for my to advocate for my business. Um, I now know what works better for me. So if you are an introvert, you can network. It is possible. It is can be really enjoyable and beneficial to your business. And it's about finding the one that works for you, the meeting that works for you.
So tell me, don't have to name anything or anyone. When you started out with networking, what were the things that you knew weren't right for you?
You know what I'm going to say
No.
already. Working the room, ugh. The 60-second pitch, the everybody foisting their business card on me when I have no need for most of the people I meet. Um, those are the main three I can think of. There's probably more. Um, so like when you were saying about like people going in and they will talk to everybody and you're the wallflower, I always found it difficult once I'd found my seat to then make myself move to a different seat. Because I'm that person who likes to get myself comfortable, um, and I've found somebody that's interesting to talk to, why would I want to go and talk to everybody else in the room? That's going to be exhausting. So I very much like the smaller groups where you can be around a table with, say, 12, 10, 15 other people, and you can talk to somebody right down the other end of the table without moving. So that was one of the big things for me. It's like the ones where you work the room not just from having to talk to lots of people, but having to actually move. Like, I know that seems like such a little thing.
Mm.
Um, and then something I hear a lot, and also I have found difficult, is how you, when you're moving from person to person, how you, if there's a group of people in conversation, how you insert yourself into that group and into that conversation. Whereas, like, my partner, I know that's really easy for him. Like, he would be able to, and he could tell me how he does it, but I just know it wouldn't work for me. It just feel like really, I could use the exact same words, and for me, it just come across as awkward.
Yeah, and
Whereas
forced.
for him, it's just so natural.
Yeah, yeah. I think for mainstream networking, one of the things I recognized, and it never happened, was that I needed a buddy. I
Mm.
needed that extrovert buddy to walk into the room in front of me, to introduce me, but then do all the talking while I happily listened and worked out who I could help and who could help me. What was I looking for? That sort of thing. And I've done a lot of networking, and I've found people, garden designers, all that sort of thing, where they've been really useful. And there was a networking I went to over towards Crewe, only went once. I met the garden designer. The garden got designed, the garden got done, never went again. So it served its purpose, as it were. Uh, But I think for me, one of the things I had to recognize was, especially with like the breakfast networking, the very early morning networking, was that the traffic was overwhelming. It just was too much for me.
Mm.
I can do it, I don't like it. And I'd rather go to networking for like 10 in the morning when it's all calmed down, the school's traffic is calmed down, there's not all that frenetic stuff going on, and people trying to outdrive other people and lane hopping. And it's like, where do you think you're going to get to by driving like that? And it's so stressful. It's just like, oh my God, stop it. So I get to networking, or used to back in the day, just already stressed out. And
Mm.
then you walk into a room of 50 people, it's like, oh God, now what? Oh my God, what are we going to be asked to do today?
Yeah,
And if it was that like speed dating type thing, not okay with that.
no.
Not
And
okay.
I feel like, because, like as you've said, as introverts, and I just know for myself personally, like, I don't like a surface level conversation.
No.
And so I think I can see, I couldn't tell you where I was or who the person I was speaking to was, but I can see myself having this conversation with somebody, and it's like I don't like small talk. I can't do surface level. If I'm going to have a conversation with you, we're going to get deep really quickly. Um, this person I was talking to is like, I'm just, why am I telling you all my personal secrets? I like, what's going on here? I need to go and talk to somebody about the weather.
Yeah. I remember it was a 4N one, and it used to be over in like the lounge of a golf club. So it was busy. Lots and lots of people showed up. And this lady was doing her talk, and she clearly was an extrovert. She did not understand the introvert who needed to leave the room to go to the loo to take a breath. She didn't understand that. She was saying things like, I've seen you, I know who's doing that. And it's just like, we're not shy and lacking in confidence. We have to have some space to breathe.
Mm.
And she wasn't allowing that. Anyway, we had to do this exercise, and it's just like, just pair up with someone. For the life of me remember what the exercise was now. But it was each of us had to speak for 3 minutes. The guy I was paired up with, he said the same to me. He's like, I've taken up all the time. Why am I telling you these things? It's what we do. We listen. As introverts, we listen. And we don't interrupt people. We like to hear what they've actually got to say.
Mm.
So if you want a truly in-depth conversation where there's no judgment in that conversation, where there's a true listening going on, find an introvert, because they love it. Even if you're another introvert, find another introvert to do that with. My husband loves to talk, but he will talk over because he has to speak his thoughts straight away. And if he doesn't speak his thoughts straight away, he's not having a conversation. Whereas I'm not having a conversation if I'm expected to like keep chipping in all the time. That doesn't work for me. Crazy, isn't it? How these things come about and how our brains are. It's just madness. But I think as introverts, we tend to have an understanding of the extrovert world in a way that extroverts never look at our world in the same way.
Mm.
I'm going to mention one of our favourite people who is an introvert, and I think you know who's coming up. Lovely. I think he's a lovely man. He seems very genuine to me, very caring, and that's Simon Sinek. And if you've never come across him, please look him up. He just speaks gently and speaks his truth. But he talks about being an introvert, and he has a friend who's an extrovert, and they go to parties together. And Simon Sinek is the person who is at the barbecue, and he'll do the barbecue queuing for you, and he'll help people out and everything. His friend is working the party. And by the time they leave, his friend's got all the info and everyone, and Simon just has one long conversation, and then he's got all the info as well. And both have enjoyed themselves, and neither's exhausted. But as an introvert, when you're expected to work the room, get to know everyone, talk about the weather, the same thing over and over again with everyone, it is exhausting. It just doesn't work for us. I don't know why. I can't tell you why. All I can tell you is this is what it's like.
I have had in the past when I've been to like the bigger networking meetings, I've come home and I've had to have a nap.
Yeah.
Because it's just so much like energy spending going out.
Yeah.
And nothing. I just need to recharge my batteries.
And it's that point where you drive home, it's like, I don't remember doing that. I don't know what happened there.
You know, when you kind of like
goes into free fall, like into some hypnotic trance, and you just get home without knowing how you got home, and that's not okay. So, just talk about a little bit about what we created enrichment networking. What was going on for us at the time?
So pre-COVID, we were both members of a certain networking group, which was smaller groups, all sat around one table, pretty much all part of the same conversation. And for me, that group was more of a social thing for me. Working alone in my business as I did, working from home, as much as I'm an introvert, felt that I needed to get out every now and again.
Yeah.
And you know, talk with other women, because it was a women-only business, networking, talk to other women who were in a similar sort of position to me about, you know, what's going on in business and getting that kind of community of support. And then over COVID, that networking group came to a close. So you and I, post-COVID, were chatting one day and realizing that as business owners, business people, there is the requirement to share our businesses so that people know about us and can buy our services or products or whatever it might be. And we were talking about getting back into networking and just going through all the groups that we knew and it was just like, no, I don't want to go there. No, I don't want to go to that one. No, I've done done one of theirs. I didn't like it. I'm not going back to them.
Every single one we did, or they just folded in COVID, hadn't they? So they
Yeah,
were there to go back to anyway, and they weren't
yeah.
starting up again.
So we were just kind of realizing that there was a pattern in the things that we didn't like about each of these networking groups. Some of them I've mentioned already, work in the room, 60-second pitch, the business card things. Like now I'm a business coach and a branding coach, and I don't have business cards. And I don't, if I can help it, collect other people's business cards.
Yeah.
And it just feels so freeing to not have business cards as part of my world. And then another one, which I didn't mention before, was like the whole business dress in inverted commas.
Mm.
So, the suited and booted, or the women in their high-heeled shoes and their bodycon dresses. And I mean, dear listener, you can't see me right now, but that is not me. I am
No, and it's not that we're saying that's wrong. It's not. You do what
it's not
works
right for
for you,
me.
and it's definitely not right for either of us. We are not
Mm,
that corporate looking. We're just not, are we? And it would just be so alien to either of us to even go there. We both like our clothes. We like what our bodies want to wear, but it's not of the, yeah, that, I don't know, the tight fitting, wearing the heels.
mm.
And I think that changed as well for a lot of women in particular during COVID, because they were doing office jobs from home.
In
So
their pajamas.
suddenly realized, recognized that actually there's a style of clothing that's much more comfortable. And they're plodding around their house in their Crocs, and they don't want to go back into their heels
Mm,
to go back into the office. Now, for some women, they live their whole lives like that. That's normal. I've seen these women at the school gate dropping their kids off. That's normal. Full face of makeup, hair blown. Or what time do they get up in the morning to do that? I've never been that person, and I never will be.
mm.
But I have my own particular style that works for me.
Yeah,
And that's what we wanted as part of our enrichment networking. We wanted women to show up as themselves
yeah,
and not think that they have to always wear a disguise, wear a uniform. No, they just come as you are. If you
yeah.
want to come looking like you've just got out of bed, come looking like you just got out of bed.
Yep. Or just had, screaming children all
Yeah,
morning and trying to get them to school.
yeah,
Come looking like that as well. And I think, like, going back to what I was saying, we looked at all the things we didn't like about networking that we'd done, or groups that we knew of, and kind of came to this realization that there must be other people who don't like those things as well. Um, we can't be the only ones. I mean, I know we're both quite unique in who we are, but we can't be that unique that nobody else feels this way about networking. And so kind of did that thought experiment, if you want to use that term, of well, if we were to create our own networking group, what would that look like? What would it feel like? Where would it be held? What would we do? And so out of that came enrichment networking, which, as you say, is very open. I was going to say open, non-judgmental. So we used to run a red tent group, and what we loved about the red tent book in particular, which is what the red tent movement grew out of, is there's one line in the book that when the women entered the red tent, they left all judgment and ill will at the door. And that's our networking is now kind of like a red tent for business.
yeah,
So it's a non-judgmental space. We're all there for the support and betterment of each other, as well as ourselves, obviously. And you can come in whatever dress you want, as in how you dress. You don't have to come in a dress. you can say as much or as little as you like. And what I really like about our networking is that we give people the time and the space to talk about their business. They're not timed, there's no pitch required, and you can talk about your business in whatever way works for you. If people want to come and practice their pitch, great, we can be that space for them. But what I really like is getting to know people beyond the pitch. And because that's how we do business with each other, we get to know people, how they work, what it is that they specialize in, who they love to work with, and then we can either, if this person is right for us, we can choose to work with that person ourselves, or then we can recommend them to other people. Because one of the things I hate, and I've never been to one of this group's meetings because I just know it would not be a good place for me, is groups that have the forced referral scheme, so that you have to come in with 3 referrals for the other people in the room. It's like, I don't know you. I don't know what kind of people you like to work with. I don't know how you work. I don't have any, client testimonials of how you work. Why would I recommend people that I know to you? Soapbox, put away.
I think one of the things that was coming to me, and I've written this down right from the very start, is that we want, okay, so let's go to who our attendees are. Women only, because women have different conversations with other women. If men are involved, the conversation is never the same. It
No.
never goes as in depth. And as we just said, we want to be a support network for women as well. So there are times when women just don't know, their physical nature is such that they just feel rubbish and they can't work in the same way as men. So it's women only. That's our was our aim right from the start. Women who know they have a more introverted side to them. Extroverts aren't ignored, they can come along as well, as long as they understand that when someone's speaking, not to speak over them,
Mm.
not to weigh in with, it does happen, with unsolicited advice. Just don't do that. We want people, women, to be able to attend and to feel that that attendance isn't, it's not something they have to survive. And that's how I used to feel. God, I survived that. Oh my God. Yeah, did I make an impression on it? No idea. I survived. Whereas we want the women to show up, women with the introverted nature to come and say what they want to say, and to feel like in some way they've been energized and will leave feeling like they've done their best, and it's an atmosphere in which they can thrive in their own
Mm.
way. It might be a 1% of thriving, it might be 10%, doesn't matter, so long as they enter the space that we're in, and we choose our spaces carefully. Again, this is something that we recognize as introverts, is that space is important. The noise level is important, because that can get overwhelming for introverts if a space is like loud music blaring, lots and lots of people, whether the people are attending our event or they're there for something else. So we're constantly looking at different venues to see just what will work for us and our nature. And this whole thing of surviving is that I would never feel like I would given my best if someone left an enrichment networking um, session feeling like they'd survived it. I want them to be able to say they'd gone beyond that, that they'd enjoyed it, that they'd found some information from it that they could take away and use for themselves or in their own business. There's a lot of well-being that's very important for me with networking that I believe isn't there in a lot of other networking. Now, is that because it's run by men? I don't know, but I'm just putting that one out there. Just my point of view. Um, I think let's talk about how an introvert a woman who identifies as an introvert who has her own small business, how can she prepare herself for showing up? So for me, we talked last time about saboteurs and being a pleaser and an avoider. It'd be too easy for me to not go, to go, oh, it's raining. And I have used that as an excuse. Sorry, I'm not coming. It's raining. Like, it's ridiculous. But as an introvert, it's I feel more at ease not doing networking. So want to make sure that anyone who's attending knows that as an introvert, they will be welcomed in a way that works for them. They're not expected to work the room, that they find a seat, they're not going to be asked to move from that seat. So what else could we suggest to introverted women in business who are looking for that haven of networking that's going to work for them?
So something when we put the event listings, so we use Eventbrite, when we put the event listings on there, there's a few things that I always make sure are on there. So one is a brief outline of how the meeting is going to run. Because I think, especially going, using myself as an example, the more I know about what to expect, the more comfortable I will feel before I get there. And I think that's the big thing, is like the more you can make yourself feel comfortable before you actually step inside the door, before you even leave your house and to get there, about going to this meeting, the more likely you are going to get there. You're not going to talk yourself out of it. The other thing I will do is make sure that it's obvious where the meeting is being held. So not just the venue, but how to get to the room we will be in, or whereabouts in the venue we will be. And then I like to put some parking suggestions, because I use myself an example. If I've got an event to go to, or if I have to go to a new venue that I haven't been to before, I will always look where I'm parking. I will, if it doesn't say on the event listing, I will be on Google Maps. Okay, where's this venue? Where am I going to be parking? And that's all part of the, like you were saying earlier about driving to the breakfast meetings through school traffic and all of that. It's reducing that stress. The more I can reduce the stress of the unknown of how to get where I'm going, the more likely I am going to go. So that's whatever preparation you need to do in those sorts of terms about what you know about where you're going and what to expect, like you're doing yourself a huge favor, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier about possibly going with someone else, being someone else that understands you understand them. You might both be more introverted. One of you might have more of an extrovert type personality. Doesn't matter. If you think that would help you, then ask someone else to go with you. And maybe that person's been waiting to be asked. You never know. They could be a bit on the shy side, or don't even know about networking. So that's something that come across recently, because I think since COVID, there just hasn't been as many networking groups available. And so younger businesses, and it's something, if you do business studies, networking isn't taught. It's not something that you're taught as a small business to go out and find. You just sort of stumble across it. So hello, if you haven't come across networking before, you're most welcome to come and join ours. And the other thing about going with someone, sorry, my brain is going offline there, is that I think as introverts, just go back to thinking about how we like in-depth conversation. If you car share with someone, it might be that the thing you need to do is have that debrief afterwards. Now, whether you go and have lunch with someone and have that debrief, something like that, where you get your thoughts in order about what's happened and how you feel, and booking next time round. Will you, won't you? Doesn't matter. It's just a choice, but you might just need to bounce that those ideas, those thoughts around with someone else who gets where you're coming from.
Mm. And I think another thing I would say is, what frame of mind are you going to the networking meeting with? So the networking group we both used to be part of, I remember one lady came to one of the meetings and she didn't make any sales, let's say, didn't get any new clients, didn't get any business from this one meeting that she came to, and then was like, oh well, I'm not going to be coming here again because I didn't get any business. And I mean, that was her approach. Personally, I approach it differently, as in, like I was saying before, when you get to know somebody and get to build that connection over contacts, because that's the thing, isn't it? You have to build your contacts, build your network. For me, it's more about the connection and building the relationships. Even if I only see them on a monthly basis at the networking meeting, I'm building that relationship. Then when it comes back to the old adage, the know, like, trust, when I know them, when I like them, when I trust them, I can, if I need their service or product, invest in it myself. Or I would be more comfortable in recommending them to anybody in my network who might need their product or service. And I think if you can come to a networking meeting, especially one like ours, where it's much more, I can't think of the word, intimate came to mind, that's not the right word, but as in we're all...
It's supportive.
Yeah, supportive. I think if you can come with the frame of mind of, I'm going to contribute as much as I want to, get out of this meeting, that's a really good frame of mind to approach networking with. It's the give and receive. Because so many people, like, especially in the bigger networking meetings I've been to, so many that people are there just like sell, sell, sell. And that's where it becomes that exhausting, when people are foisting their business cards on you, telling you all about what they do and why you should book them or why you should buy their thing. And it's like, nobody enjoys those interactions.
No, I found it very aggressive in the past and never been
Yeah.
able to do it. It's just not me, you know.
Mm.
No.
Whereas, like, if somebody comes with a question and it's something I can help with, like, I will quite happily, like, gift my knowledge, my experience, my skills to them in that moment. And that's what I mean about coming with the approach of contributing. It's like, if somebody's got a problem and it's something that you can help with, why wouldn't you, be generous in that moment? And that's when people are more likely, let's say, to then buy your services down the line. You may not make a sale at that moment because you've just given away free advice or whatever. But down the line, they'll be like, oh, no, that person, when we were in that meeting, I really liked what she was saying about the problem I had. I'll get in touch with them. Yes.
Yeah, I think the phrase I would use is a mental flexibility. So just be aware if you have an approach that is based on how networking has been done for a very long time, which is sell to as many people as possible rather than get to know the person first, create a nice connection with them. And you just, once you've made that connection, you stay in their brain. And you'll hear someone say something, you think, I know someone who can help with that. And it's that mental flexibility rather than, I haven't sold anything to anyone, no one's buying from me. No, actually, if I go as a personality, if I walk through that door, leaving my judgments and ill will at the door, and I go in with a more supportive and generous nature, that's what you're going to be remembered for. But you might
Mm.
also be remembered if you choose to do the sell for that. And
Yeah.
as I said, I find that quite aggressive. And so I don't want to know those people, male or female,
Yeah.
because that's not
Um,
okay for my energy.
and I mean, obviously, we want to know about your business. We can't recommend you if we don't know what you do and who you do it for. And we love people who come with their passion. So we had somebody who was in one of the networking businesses at a meeting a few months ago, and she was new to the business, and like you could really feel her passion about it. And she was talking about the products, and she had some there that we could sample and all of this kind of stuff. But in no way did I feel like she was being salesy.
Yeah.
She was sharing her business and what she does and the products in a really passionate way without saying, you need to buy this now. I mean, if anybody uses those terms, then just ridiculous, stop it. But but metaphorically saying, buy it now. And I have
Yeah,
to
and
say,
we also found out from her that she had more to her than wanting to sell these particular products. She
mm,
actually had a background in beauty therapy. She actually had qualifications. She wasn't talking about those. She had only been taught how to sell the product. It's like bring in some of yourself into your social media, however you're going to do this, and show your expertise as well as knowing about the product, as well as experiencing the product. You know a lot about stuff, stuff that we didn't know about. And it was just nice, very nice actually, to have a conversation with someone who was doing something very different to what I would choose to do or what you've chosen to do, going
mm,
forward. Yeah.
yeah. And
Um,
I
yeah, go on.
think I think we're saying, don't be salesy. It's not about getting business on the day, it's building connections and all that kind of stuff. Also, it is a really good place to get new clients. And like speaking for myself, like this business, maybe not all, but the vast majority, let's say 95% of the clients I've worked with so far, I have met through networking meetings. And it's not something like we didn't set up this business specifically so we could, get money from the people who come there, make them be our clients. Um, but, we're all in business.
And also, I'm just thinking of you, and I know some of the clients that you now have, but if you'd gone with that mindset of we have this business, we want to get business from this business, and the first month that we had people there, if you've gone with that mindset of all of these are my potential clients and no one booked on, we wouldn't be carrying on with this because no one did that first month or the second month or the third month. It was much further down the line
Mm,
that you actually started to get clients. And it strikes me that sort of like after 6 months, every time we did a meeting, someone else was signing up to find out about whether or not you could help them.
mm,
And it's just slowly evolved, hasn't it? And
yeah.
which is something I'm all for. I think you can think that you can help everyone in the room. You haven't got time.
No.
You just haven't got the time to be able to do that, depending on what your business is. So, whether that's selling the product from another company, you have got to make the time and put in the effort to meet with those people to find out what their needs are and then deliver those things.
Mm,
And it's like, how many people can you actually personally offer a service to? So if you don't get business the first time around, celebrate that because you've learned something by going to networking about that networking group. You've met new people. And then if you go back, or when you go back and you meet them again, suddenly it's like you've made that connection and you're making a friendship as well,
mm,
but on a business level. Everyone understands that everyone else is in business here. Um,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, and that comes back to, I was saying about most of my clients I've met through networking, but it wasn't the first time we held a networking meeting. And I think that comes back to what I was saying about the generosity that you can share during the meeting. So,
Yeah.
we're all in business. I'm a business coach. I help people with their marketing, their branding. Quite often, whatever problem they come with, I've got something to say about it.
And you
And
do.
and a lot of people might think, oh my goodness, I can't believe you're giving away this advice for free. But, this is my support group. If I can support somebody else within that, if I've got a problem that somebody else can help with, I would like to receive the same sort of generosity. Which is why we set up the group in the way that we have, as in it's not just business networking, it is a support group. You and I are both coaches. We have that ability to coach the people who are in the room if they've got a certain problem or are stuck in a certain way. We bring that into things as well. And the vast majority of the people who come to our meetings, like us, work alone in our businesses, work from home, or from a workshop where there's just them there. It can become really isolating. If you feel like you're running businesses, again, that imposter syndrome that we talked about last time, feeling like we're not good enough, everybody else makes it look so easy, and why are we finding it so hard? Stop watching social media. Let me let me say that, because you only get people's highlight reels on social media. Of course, they're only going to show you the good stuff. And so we created our meetings in a way where people can come and be who they are, how they're feeling at that moment. I mean, like there's times when we'll go there and we're both exhausted, or, like one of us is, I'll speak for myself, like recently I've been so overwhelmed with client work, and just going to a meeting, knowing that I'm not the only one that goes through this stuff, is support in itself. And then having those conversations, those deeper conversations that we have, depend, on any topic. I mean, like we've had deep conversations about insurance before now.
Really have very interesting conversations
And
about
yet,
insurance.
yeah, and I always leave feeling uplifted and enriched. I mean, it's called enrichment networking for a reason.
Yeah, yeah. I think let's make this the final thing on this. Is something you can ask yourself as you're looking for networking. What is your aim with the networking, or what would you like to achieve by attending networking? And if it goes beyond the sales, what else is there that you could achieve?
Mm.
And I'm so grateful to so many of the women who have showed up to our networking groups, because we can get to know them, and we like them within the first time we meet them. And I'm particularly thinking of Georgia, a young woman in mortgages who's helped my daughter. And I had no hesitation when my daughter was looking to buy a house to recommend Georgia. And I hadn't seen her for months. She hadn't been, she came like 3 or 4 times and then got too busy in work. And I'm like, you have to go and see her. You have to speak to her. And my daughter's like, I just want her to be my best friend. And I'm like, I know what you mean. Because it's beyond the 60-second pitch and the selling,
Mm.
we get to know the person, and that person usually is lovely.
Mm.
Whereas the
Yeah,
60-second pitch tells you nothing about the person, because the 60-second pitch is how do you help someone?
and
And
it's
we find out
rehearsed.
how the person helps someone through their interaction with us.
Mm. Yeah, and it goes back to what you were saying earlier about feeling like you had to be a character when you went to networking, and the
Yeah,
60-second pitch is so rehearsed, and whereas like when it's that calm space like we create in our meetings, it's like people can be themselves. They can be whatever version of themselves they are that day,
yeah,
and we're accepting of that. We know that You know, we all have good days, we all have bad days. We're all
Yeah, one
weird
of
in our
the
own
actually,
ways.
I said that was the last thing. It's not. One of the things that we recognize about being introverts is that because it's not small talk, it's much on a much deeper level. Maintaining eye contact with the people in the room can be very difficult for introverts, and this is where they get the shy label.
Mm,
Because they don't hold eye contact. And so, in order to help our introverts, is we offer colouring in. We have mandalas and sharpies, and just sit and create and allow your brain waves to go into a really calm state. And then it's amazing what you take on board from other people when you're in that much calmer state. We don't
mm,
want you networking stressed. We want you networking calm so that you end up, rather than just being glad you survived attending, which
mm,
is where I used to be, actually you leave thriving, knowing that you're doing the best job you can with your business in that moment.
mm,
I mean, I love not only the colouring in myself, but watching someone else colouring in is really meditative in its own way. And that I find that fascinating. So our mirror neurons that we have in our brain, one person's calming down, you watch that person calming down, your mirror neurons go, this is a good idea. And you feel yourself sitting back and calming down as well. That's a really cool thing. Whereas if you're in a room full of people who are super high energy, but you don't have the mirror neurons that cope with that, you're just going to feel exhausted.
mm.
You don't necessarily build up to being high energy yourself. And then the other thing we offer is there's always chocolate.
Always
Always
chocolate.
chocolate. Which you might like, you might not, but it's always on offer.
Yeah. So if you are in the Chester, Cheshire, North Wales sort of area and want to see what this enrichment networking is all about, if what we've been talking about sounds good to you, I will leave links for where you can find out about meetings down below. We also have a Facebook group if you're not in the area but quite like the idea of this sort of thing going on online, then I will leave that below as well. And if you're not in our area and quite like the idea of running such a networking group, get in touch. We do welcome contact from people who want to host a group in their area. We have all sorts of things set up for you, and we can help you explore that idea. Is there anything else I need to say on that?
No, I think you've
No.
covered it.
Yeah.
That sounds great. I'm in. We'd love to have your company.
We would. So, Denise, are we done?
I think we are. I'm done. Are you done?
I think we're done.
Cool. Thanks, everyone. We really appreciate you tuning in. Any comments, anything you'd like to say to us, please do. Um, and we'll get back to you. And we'll see you. Well, we won't. We'll be with you in a couple of weeks' time. Bye for now, everyone. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.